Hey guys, it's TRIZE here, and we're getting the most torque out of this tiny V12 engine. We only got 2 more engines left in the V category, so without further ado, let's build this bad boy. So the first thing you gotta check on the top left portion of your screen is you set the year by maximizing it to the year of 2020. And after you've chosen the V6-degree V12 engine configuration, you may choose any of the 4 block materials that you may choose from. I'm going to select magnesium for the sake of weight, but not so great with water corrosion or whatever in real life. And for the bore and stroke right here, for the family capacity, is you set this to the lowest setting for the bore at 50 millimeters, and same thing for the stroke, set this to the lowest at a 40 millimeters to get the engine size set to 942 cubic centimeters. With a dual overhead cam 5 valve, and pretty much the same anatomy with the head materials with these 3 right here, I'm going to select aluminum silicon for the sake of weight. And with this quality slider, as you see right here next to the head material, is you set this to a plus 15. You set this for everything, whether it's for the engine in general, the top end, bottom end, the turbocharger, the fuel system for the exhaust, you do this for everything. And right next to the quality slider with the sandbox tech pull window right here, you click on this to open up this window right here. And under the engine tech section is you set this to a plus 15 for everything, starting with the engine in general, not 25. So you do this for the engine in general, the bottom end, the top end, the natural aspiration, the turbocharger, the fuel system, and for the exhaust system. After that, click on Apply Changes, and I'll head over to the bottom end of this engine. So first things first, with the variant capacity in the bottom end section here, is you set the bore, lower this down yet again to 45 millimeters, and the stroke, pretty much the same thing, lower this all the way down to 28 millimeters to get the final engine size of 534 cubic centimeters. And for the crank cowl rods and pistons, we're using the best materials out of all of them, except for the pistons because we need one for power and all that stuff. So the crankshaft will be set to a billet steel, with the cowl rod set to a lightweight titanium, with the piston set to a low friction cast, like I said, to boost power and torque and all that good stuff. And the balancing mass, we're not going to need it whatsoever for this engine build. For the compression, we're going to be setting this to a near extreme setting of an 11 or 14.4 to 1 ratio, with the cam profile set to an 89, which is a nearly full-blown racing setting. The springs and lifters keep this as is to a 50, and we're going to be using VVT for all cams with the RPM limit set right around here to an 11,200 RPM. For the turbocharger, it's going to be a single turbo setup with a smart boost system implemented, with the intercooler size set to 205 horsepower. And we're going to be using a standard geometry ball bearing setting with the compressor size set for the first section here to 72 millimeters. And for the second section for the turbine size, you set this to a 65.0 millimeters. The AR compressor trim, the third section, is you set this to a 42. And lastly, for the maximum boost, is we're going pretty ham on this one by setting it to a 58.74 PSI. And for the fuel system, it's pretty much the usual, it will always be the usual, at a direct injection throttle per cylinder race intake with the manifold size set to a 17, a pretty small boy. With the required fuel, we're going to be using good old nitrobethane, aka the top fuel and funny car dragster fuel. With the ignition timing map right below the type of fuel, is you set this to a -5, which should advance it as much as possible, with the fuel mapping set to a fairly lean setting at a 22. And finally, for the exhaust headers and all that good stuff, we're going to be choosing the tubular racing headers with the header size set to a 32, with the exhaust diameter set to a 76.2 millimeters, which equals to 3 inches exactly. And like always, no cats and no mufflers, and bring up that quality. And we get the final horsepower rating of 1,070 horsepower at 9,600 RPM, and the highlight of the video is the torque at 596.4 pounds-feet of torque at 9,200 RPM. So as usual, for this season of building the smallest engines with the most torque, is we got some extreme turbo lag that we got going here. It idles pretty modestly at 1,400 RPM, then little by little as you mash on the throttle and keep mashing, and at 7,500 RPM, you should see the turbocharger really kick in terms of power, where it stays pretty stagnant in horsepower, but decreases in torque near redline. Okay, so for this part of the video, I'm going to be listed with the manual testing mode with this graph setup right here. Going to rev the engine up a little bit, and then toggle the graph visibility, and show you the engine as is by doing some fake gears just for a little while, and we'll end off the video right then and there. So bring back the graph and give you a listen right now. It's just how the engine idled at first. It sounds very aggressive how cammed this bad boy is. Sheesh. So that'll do it with automation the car company Tycoon gave with this small, torque-heavy V12 engine. Despite the extreme turbo lag, it's capable of producing over 1,000 horsepower. For my next engine build, I'll do the same thing with the V16 by making the smallest engine with the most torque, so look out for that in the near future. And for those who are interested in this type of content, please be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss out on any videos like this in the future. So this is TRIZE Rising Up, and signing out.